Hello everyone, this is Atish Chauhan and today I am going to talk about lab 1, and for this lab we have to create 3 virtual machines. One will be the domain controller and the other 2 will be the member of that domain controller. So as you can see here, for the first machine we have A122750595, which is my counter ID last 4 digits, and 01, which is allocated with the IP address of 41, the last octet as required. And this is the domain. I set up this virtual machine as a domain controller, and the other 2 are the member server, which is .42 and .43. So for the first part, this is all we have to do. And for making a virtual machine and domain controller, we just have to go to the service manager and create a role, and have to create a role based and feature based installation, selecting a pool and selecting DHCP server here. That's all we have to do, and we have to commit this machine as a name of domain, which in my case I used achauhan0595.com. as you can see here on the first machine, it's showing achauhan0595.com. and further, for making the other VMs the member server, I just changed their IPv4 settings, and for the IP addresses I used 42, and for the other members, other machine, the virtual machine 3, I use the IP as .43, and on the DNS I used the IP of the first machine, that is 10.172.10.41.41. so that's how they become the member of the domain controller. It was quite easy. Let's now moving to the second part, which is the second part. We have to create AD objects to allow a user to complete a both standard and administrative work within the domain. So for doing this, we'll go to the first machine, and let's open the Active Directory users and computers in the server manager. As you can see, I have created one organization unit as my container ID name, and other organization unit as my container ID name /s. Basically, I want to make this. I made this organization unit as my standard work. Even I created a user as Atish Chauhan, which is my name, and /s, so that for standard use only. It is further I created a user OU inside it, and I created a administrative user as achauhan0595/a. Further I created these security groups to make the understanding how we give rights to one group to another. So the main groups I created is campus students and IT department. So for the campus student, I only allowed the access to printer, and for the service IT department, I provide all the other services, which is printer and server. And for the local domain users, I created this so that I can delegate some rights to this user. I created the administrative user, and whichever user will be the part of local domain user have the rights to edit, delete, or do modifications within the server. So that's all I have done. As you can see here on the users access to printers, it is a member of campus service IT department campus students. Access to server is a member of campus service IT department only, not the students. And if you want to see, you can see from here as well. It is campus students are the part of local domain user as well as access to printer zone. So, and on the other side, campus servers IT department is a member of all the security groups we have created, so they have all the rights to do things on the printer and server networks. So that is all I have done for the second task. This is the relationship I created. Moving further to the task 3, which is configuration with the DHCP server. For this, I went to the first machine and created a role first and installed DHCP on the service pool, and I installed this DHCP server, and after installing it I committed it with the name of H0595 and as an administrator. Further, after doing this, I went to tools DHCP, and as you can see here, I created scopes under IPv4. In the assignment it says that we have to configure scopes to service 4 networks. Your subnet, which is our subnet, that is 10.174.10 like 1 to 254. They are ranged between 1 to 254 subnets we can take. And further we will use 172.16.95, which is my corner ID, last 2 digits, .1 to 254 range. And further, for the third scope we will take 96, adding 1 as it is required here. And for the fourth scope we will take 97, adding 2 more to the corner ID. And for the other part, it says for all scopes the first 50 addresses of the subnet should not be allocated by the DHCP. For that we have to make an exclusion range from 1 to 50 address. That will be for the first scope. That will be the case like as you can see here. Sorry for that. Yeah. So for the first scope, if we go to the address pool, and we can see that this is first of all on the IPv4. We can see that only the first scope is active, others are inactive. This was the requirement of the lab. And further, if we go to the first scope and okay, it's okay. If we go to the first scope and to the address pool, we can see that the range is from 1 to 254. It's the address range of the distribution. Further, the exclusion, you can see 1 to 50 are excluded from the distribution. And you find it strange that why I use 204 to 254. Oops, sorry for that. So you will be wondering why we used 204 to 254 address range here in the exclusion. That is because in the requirement it says that we have to take the first 80 addresses available, but we have to only include the first 80, not the other 20%. So the 20% of 254 will be around 50%. So if we minus 50 from 254, that will be 203. And so the network starting from 204 to 254 should be excluded, which will be the next 20% which were left. So in the first scope we created this kind of list, and for the other scopes, as I discussed earlier, we did the same thing, but the IP range starts from 172.16 dot contra ID last 2 digits 95 dot 1 to 254 the range, and vice versa we did for the first scope, and we only activated the first scope. What is the benefit of that? It's on the like last part you can see here that configure v3 to use DHCP and acquire IP configuration via your DHCP server. So for that we went to virtual machine 3, and there we statically assigned the IP address v4, but to check whether the scope is working or not, we changed it to automatically assign the IP address. So when we do it automatically, the DHCP plays its role, and it automatically assigned the IP to .51. So this was the main idea of creating scopes, and how it works, and configuring the DHCP services. So moving forward to the task 4. In the task 4 we have to create a DNS services, configure a DNS services, and for the first part it says that configure reverse lookup for all the networks included in this lab. For the networks that were included in this lab were like 41, 42 and 43. For that I went to the tools of the service manager of the domain controller, because this rights will be only for the domain controller to check the DNS services. The member server should not be having these rights. So I went to the reverse lookup of DNS services, and I created a new zone with the 10.174.10, and the other ranges I took is 41, 42 and 51. I used 51 because our IP changed when we used DHCP, so I added these rows, and it will show if we do the ns lookup command on there. So as you can see, if we go to PowerShell and try the command ns lookup 10.174.10.41, yep, it is showing the name of the domain which is allocated with this IP. That means our zone is working fine. And if we go to 42, yep, it's showing. Go to 51, it's showing. Let's make an example. Let's do 63 for just an instance, and it shows an error that it cannot find, it's non-existing. So this was the benefit of zone we created, and further the pointers we created. So these were the pointers we created, and other you can see configuring DNS records such as mail exchange to your domain resolves a mail of your counter id.com, and the priority level should be 10 and will points to the VM2. So if you want to see that, we will go to the forward we will check with the command, that is ns lookup it will be ns lookup ty equals to mail exchange my counter id.com, and it is showing the name of the server, responsible mail address, and the serial and refresh rate, try expire, default TTY per hour. So that's how it works. Further, you have to configure a DNS record such as a query for www.counterid.com to resolve VM2. For that we have to create a forward lookup zone, sorry, not create the forward lookup zone, but we have to go to the forward lookup zone, going to the domain, and we have to create a new host here named as www, and provide the IP address as the second VM. When we do that, it will resolve the DNS name of second VM when we will look up for www.condorid.com. So for an example, we go to PowerShell, and if we look up for ns lookup command, and we say resolve ns lookup www.h1095.corp, it will tell me the IP address which is allocated to the FQDN, which is www.h1095, which is my condorid.com. So that is all for today, and hope you understand. Thank you for watching. Shah.